So my good mate and I, we both headed out to this concert. And as soon as we got there, I remember we bumped into like this group of guys who we were all friends with. And immediately I saw this guy who I hadn't seen him in years. And this guy used to be like a bit immature. But as soon as I caught up with him, I started having a great time. He changed a lot as a person. So I spoke to him. I spoke to this group of guys. And I moved over to this other area of this concert. And there's this like little rave area, and it's like this little disco section tented off, and right outside there's at least like 200 people my age talking. It's like one huge party. And literally I went around, so I was with some of my friends, we went there, and I ended up just every now and then playing this game, because at first we would bump into people, I would be speaking to them, and I would play this game. I'd turn around in a circle, and at a random point I would see someone and go say hi to them. And this was working really well for me just because I already knew a lot of people. I've been to the same concert last year. I'm in my hometown, so obviously I'm well connected here. But there was a lot of people, like every now and then, I would just go up to a random group of people that I hadn't met before, or my friend and I would be like, oi, let's go speak to them, because we hadn't spoken to them yet. And I got in hundreds, thousands of conversations. Like, I met probably 100 people, let alone all the other like hundreds of people that I already knew there. And I had an amazing time. But that night, I remember getting home, and as soon as I got home, I just lay down, and for some backstory, I have really bad overthinking a lot of the time. Like, I genuinely can't help but to think things through so thoroughly, like every little thing, how I talk to a person, their facial expression, the distance that we were standing at. I overthink a lot. And, I know why this is, but this is not a video about how to stop that. I'm just saying that, my bad, this is a video on how to stop that, but I'm gonna get into that later. All I'm saying is that when I got home that night, all the thoughts had gone. I lay down, and I remember having a blank mind. And for the first time in, I don't know, half a year, maybe potentially even a whole year, like 9 months, that was one of the first times where I felt true peace. Just to be able to sit and lie down alone. And I've retained that ability with me, but I think a huge part of that was that I was going out being social and being comfortable being around so many people. I talked to so many different people that day. There was a different night where I remember something had happened at school and some guy was being a fucking asshole or some shit, and it was bothering me. Like, it genuinely really disturbed me. So I got home at night, and the whole day I'd noticed I'd been thinking about this little fucking dickhead, and this one thing a couple things that he said that were really sharp, not true, but I guess they just fed on my insecurities. And I got back to my room and I opened up my journal. It's just like this piece of paper I used to plan my day, but I used a piece of paper to write out like how I was feeling, what this guy said, how I thought he was a dickhead. And I started to feel a lot better really fast. In fact, the next day I hardly thought about it at all. In fact, as soon as I finished writing it out on this piece of paper, I fell asleep really fast. And all this attributes to me just when I have a problem, just being able to write it down. This has really helped me stop overthinking. Maybe even do this every day if you're like the kind of person who you're on social media all the time, or you don't even give yourself a second to breathe. I reckon it would be extremely helpful just at either at the start of the day or at the end of the day, just write out a couple things. I personally do it only when there's something that's bothering me. And I also do this in another format of I call a friend. Those are the two things that have really helped me, that when there's like something going on, to care less, how to stop overthinking when somebody said something like a dickhead to you. And the thing is, I figured out why I was overthinking so much that night. The night before, I'd stayed up late playing Brawl Stars. And then the next day, I remember I procrastinated going to the gym. I think I eventually went. I ate some shit food. The gym helped me feel better, but then I was eating shit food again. I was around some people that were making me overthink, like some people who, you know, they were mates, but like I would call them friends, but not really close friends, not friends who, you know, you would spend a lot of time about. And I can't remember exactly when this night was where I was overthinking, but when I'd been around people who were being dickheads to me, when I was eating unhealthy, sleeping poorly, all these things coming together, I just started overthinking like crazy, and I needed to journal to help me feel better. And I'm honestly surprised that the journal did help me feel better when I had had like 6, 7 hours of sleep, was really sleep deprived, eating shit food that makes me overthink. Like, I don't know why. This is really weird. When I eat KFC, specifically when it's KFC, for the next, until the day's over, I get really like strong anxiety. It's really weird. I don't get it from anything else, but I get really stressed and uneasy when I eat KFC. You know, there was this one girl, right? I wanted to go speak to her, and I did. But when I got there, I started doing this thing where I call a convo starter fail. Because I started to say, oh, like, hey, how are you? I started to ask, like, oh, what are you doing later? I asked a few questions, but the thing that was wrong about these questions, like obviously saying, what are you doing later? There's nothing wrong with that at all. But the thing that was wrong was that I was pre-firing these questions in my head. I was premeditating. I was figuring out what I was going to say before I'd even got the conversation. So when I was there, I was following this script. But the problem with following a script is that you can't memorize the whole thing in 2 minutes. In fact, I don't think I've ever memorized a script, me personally. And so I was there, I was talking to this girl, and at first, the first conversation starter comes out, the second comes out, the third comes out, and I'm like, holy shit, I got nothing left. And so I said, like, I'm pretty sure I said, like, oh, what sport are you doing nowadays, or some stupid shit, right? And I dragged this question out. I was like, oh yeah, do you like to do it? And you know, it's all right, but the way that I was asking, I was so nervous that I wasn't enjoying this conversation. And I remember we just went really silent, walked straight for like another minute. And I remember that being one of the most awkward moments, because as I had ran out of things to say, 3 seconds went by and I was stuttering. I was like nervous on what to say. I said sorry, bro. Who the fuck says sorry when they can't come up with something to say? And she just goes, yeah, like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just really tired. And to me, that stuck with me, because there's this other time. Basically, it's about a similar date to right now, but like 1 year ago. So, right about the start of school, like I'm pretty sure this was the second day, and there was this new girl, and I remember going up to her immediately, because, you know, she was my type and everything, and it just flowed. Like, I was able to hold conversations with her. It's like my social skills had leaked in from the holiday into talking to, like, when I was trying to talk to her, and it just went really easy for me. You know, I don't think she was into me. I didn't really try. I didn't ask her out or anything, but all I did was just try and have a couple of conversations with her, which went all right, and in the end, worked out. Now, the difference between these two situations is that right before, I was going out a lot. I was being social every day. That's when I found it easy to have these conversations. But when I found it really hard was when I hadn't gone out in 6 months. I stuttered, it was super awkward, and that kind of thing happened to me a lot during that period of time. So I really recommend, you got to be planning something with your friends, because if you're not, you're going to step back into, especially if you're someone like me, you're going to step back into finding it hard to be sociable. One other thing that really helped me, I remember this time where every single second of my day was fully packed to the brim. Like, I was always doing something. I was always working on filming my videos, because I thought that was one of the most important things that I could be doing. I was working on going to the gym. I was boxing. Well, actually, at that time, I wasn't boxing enough, but you know, I was eating really clean. Every single second of my day was packed full with things that would help me get closer towards this mission, like helping people get over loneliness, helping people make better friends, helping people stop overthink so much. All these problems that I've struggled with that I really wanted other people to get better at. And when I was so dedicated to this purpose, it became really, really easy for me to just say that I'm all right with not going out. That period of not going out for 6 months, that went very differently to this other month where I wasn't going out at all for this month. And I still hung out with some friends occasionally, like this one guy, usually a couple times a week. And that was really good. Like, that was enough to help fill up my social bubble. But normally I like to be out doing a ton of things, and that's how I feel comfortable to talk to people. And I was sacrificing all of this that I knew meant so much to me just because of this purpose. So the main advice, the advice I'm trying to give here is that if you have something that matters enough to you, you're going to be able to ignore the things, ignore your current situation. Ignore that you don't have as many friends as you'd like. And this helps you overthink less. Maybe it's a different situation where you have as many friends as you want. Maybe you're in that situation, but having something really grand and purposeful stops you from getting distracted by other small dumb things. Thanks for watching, bro. I hope you have a great day.